That's a delight. And we're just getting started, and we're talking about just how we are, kind of check in, and how we feel about having new people join us in the fall. Go ahead, Marvin. I'm sorry to.
First, welcome, BJ. We're so happy that you can join us today in any capacity. Thank you for doing that. A couple of thoughts about adding new people evolved from our recent discussions in Force, where we talked about LGBT issues, which are affecting more of the younger population, and the student protests that are expanding across the country, which also reflect differences between how older people think about things and how younger people think about things. So I hope we will include young people in the expansion.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're all just going to say a word as a way of beginning.
I felt aimless today. And I think for me, it's because I'm not seeing as many clients at all as I used to. And I don't know what to do with my time.
I have no idea.
No, I know. This is my time, not your time. I know.
If you don't know what to do with it, just give it to me.
No, you can't have it.
Oh.
I'm a mean, selfish person. Well, okay, that's sort of a check-in, and it's a theme in my life, actually. So, my first feeling when Lynn said she wanted to open this, and it's always my first feeling when we think of new people, is no. I like it the way it is. I know it, it's cozy. We're getting deeper with each other. However, I agree. And as I think about it, I feel a wanting to open it up. I really do. Sort of to let new blood in. Just to open up to the world. I feel that in myself, and that, that I have this counter pull, which is to close down, go take a nap. Okay, that's all for me. Anyone else?
I can go. Somehow, yeah, I had a good day today. Just a day without too many things in my head, or just a day to just do the day, and enjoyed some of the nice weather. Yeah, so there's a kind of content feeling about today. And I also feel a good day in the sense that good things happened. It wasn't just enjoying the weather. and about having more people in the group. I feel a little bit the same as Susan. I do notice that when I think about more people in the group, that I'm not thinking a lot of new people. I'm like, okay, we'll have some new people in the group, but not too many. Maybe like, 1, 2, or 3, something around that. Yeah. So that's well, maybe I'll change, but that's me for now. Yeah.
I'm going to put down 3. I'm taking some notes.
Here comes Kate. Here comes the sun.
Oh, here comes the sun. I wonder if Kate knows that song.
Yeah, I wonder.
Who
She
will be?
does.
What about you, Masumi? You're muted, I think.
Or the audio is too low.
We can't hear you.
How about now?
Now we
Yeah.
do.
Better?
Better.
Okay. Well, I have been busy with hosting with a team of the interactive focusing teachers, the roundtable
Oh.
in Japanese language for the first time.
Oh,
Wonderful.
It was wonderful, but my role was to communicate with Tiffy in English. I was the only one who can do that. Well,
Uh-huh.
probably the others may be able to, but not so well in English. But what I faced was the diverse opinions amongst the host team members. And some are really concerned with what I would feel trivial matters. Like after the roundtable, Latifi suggested they can send, I have to tell you that we had an interview with Mary McGuire, what her views about interactive focusing. It was really priceless.
Wow.
And then we had chats. And then for that, some of the members translated into Japanese and then put the translation what she was saying in chat so people can read the chat what Mary was talking about. But that was a really strenuous work.
Hmm.
And well, I want to make the story short, but afterwards, Tiffy suggested maybe they can send the chats to all the registrants,
Mm-hmm.
and which was to me okay. But some people said, no, the people who registered and didn't come, and there were several who registered but wasn't able to register right, or couldn't get the confirmation mail from with the access link, so could not attend. And some member just suggested that in order to be fair, those who registered but didn't come should be treated shouldn't be treated same as those who tried but could not come. And then I also felt that it's so priceless. Why not put it in the YouTube
Sure, yes.
without any translation, all in English, like Jennifer's YouTube and Lynn's YouTube, all in English? And some suggested, no, it's the position of the host team who try to do it in Japanese too, for the Japanese people to understand. So that it's, for me, as sort of a leader, had so much difficulty trying to ask people with diverse opinions. And diversity for me this time made me really a lot of burden on my shoulders, along with the English communication, along with people who would just give opinions of themselves. It's nice to have free atmosphere that anybody can say anything. But to me, I would have to ask Patifi, for instance, last night, near midnight, ask Elizabeth Cantor, who were the ones who wanted to communicate with you personally about not getting the confirmation mail. And she had to go through the list of the people. And then she finally found out there was only one person who tried registration at the last minute, but she was on vacation and came back to the office and read the mail on Monday, which was after everything was done. So that I had to just make sure that the person who posed the question would be satisfied with the information. Why? Who are the ones who tried and not was unable to come, and who registered but didn't decide to or chose not to come. And those
Yeah.
tricky. Oh, what the heck?
What the
I
heck?
don't want to spend 3 hours trying to communicate with Tiffy because of the time differences they would answer. And then I admire Lynn for really trying to put everybody's opinion together and try to be satisfied, each person, each member. And me, it's just so tiring, exhausting, and diversity
I must
means
say, Masumi, that I feel that way too when it's something about technical things, should we send it or keep it, or those kinds of questions. But I think it seems trivial, but it's when we can really deeply listen to each person, and you may not be able to do that in the situation, but as much as you can, there are a lot of important community issues under the surface about what belongs to us. Is this Japanese group just subsumed, meaning underneath the Focusing Institute, or do we have our own? There are a lot of important issues that maybe are being talked about through the trivial issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not saying the trivial issues are not important, but it's very hard for me to cope with diversity.
Yes.
And then I admire you. You are not saying what the heck. I felt that way last night after midnight when I finished reporting what I found out from Tiffy to people in the committee team. And okay, come to the opinion about new people coming in. If possible, I would like to have more people from Asia
Mm,
and younger men,
mhm.
if possible.
Younger men.
That's good. And maybe you can recommend, Masumi, some good-looking younger men.
No, I'm not saying good looking. I mean, the younger
I put that in.
God bless you.
Have to be good looking.
Yeah, well, but it's so regrettable that Japanese people in general have a very big psychological barrier speaking in English.
Mhm.
They have learned English for many years until college, but they hesitate to talk in English. And they would ask for translation all the time. And I say, well, use the AI if they get the mail in English themselves and get the vague idea, whatever it's vague or not. You know, not depending on my translation or others' translation.
Yes.
Yeah. So this psychological barrier that many intellectual Japanese people have about English is,
Mhm.
to me, they
Yeah.
are, to me, troublesome and it irritates me.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
trying very hard here, and I like other Japanese to try hard too.
Yes, you need some,
Yeah.
you need some companions on that path.
But Sumi, do you think that being here, having to listen and try to get the English, I mean, when you've done that for years now, that's, I don't know, that's toughened you up, that's made you flexible, more flexible with English. Do you think?
Of course, having a second language
Uh-huh.
broadens your world a
Mm,
lot.
yes, yes, yes. And Mary, it's good to see you.
Sorry, that's the end. I have talked too long. Yes.
You've given us some good thoughts. We're just to uh, to bring Kate and Mary, and we're just having a kind of check-in in general, but then also how we feel about having new people join us in the fall.
I apologize for being late. I'm always, thinking I want new people, and at the same time, I feel like we're finally very able to express ourselves. Um, so I'm open to whatever the group wants.
Yes, I think several people have expressed that feeling about that conflict. Yes.
I'm hoping that our connection as a group that we have now will be strong enough to absorb some new people in a way that the trust and sense of connection can happen more quickly with the new people.
Mm.
I don't know if I'm being
Mm.
a bit Pollyannish here, but I think it's a chance of it.
Well, you know what?
And
I
it
think
can add new. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just going to say, and it can add new ideas, new thoughts. Just, yeah, new people can be a positive too. It will change. Every person has an effect on the group. But I think that we have a pretty connected, safer group than we had in the beginning, that we've done a lot of work on. So hopefully, that will go well. Just a quick check-in. I'm doing okay. My cancer numbers came back down again. Last month they'd gone up, saying that it was growing. Now it's come back down, so it's not growing. So that's a good thing. And I'm hoping to be able to be strong enough to ride in the Pan Mass Challenge again this year. I haven't gotten on the bike yet, but that's a goal. And the Lupron, the medication that keeps the cancer down, also has a lot of side effects. So, and they seem to be accumulating a bit. So, but I'm hoping I can still do the Pan Mass and ride 50 miles. We'll see.
Wow. Oh my God.
It's
Amazing.
not fast. I can go as slow as I need to.
Wow.
Wonderful.
I was just going to chime in that there's studies that show that that new people joining a group will be oriented to the culture of the group. That it isn't like the whole group starts all over again, but that usually new people joining a group that's established can sort of just what you were wishing, Nancy, can find their way.
I guess I'll go with my check-in, and then I'll talk about my ideas of, my thoughts about including new people. And so, I mean, how am I feeling? Today at the high school, I had to be part of a involuntary psychiatric hospitalization for a 14-year-old. And so it is one of my, this is part of what I do. And then, but it's never easy. I've done it many, many, many times. But so just having feelings about just because you not only navigating my relationship to the student, but also the agency that is invited to come and do an assessment, the police, the administration, security, and everybody has a different ways of seeing things, and how to, just kind of navigate all the different systems. And so it's, yeah, I'm used to it, but it's always, every person is different, of course, and then so there are always some different outcomes, positive in the situation, but it just it's a lot, and I guess one of the things that I feel, I want to say for myself is that trusting that the importance that is to trust my judgment and not to delegate too much power to others around me. That because I knew from the beginning at 9 o'clock in the morning that this needed to be done, and then so by noon, is when I was contacting an agency to come, and I needed to do my own report and meet with the student. And I already met with the student, was with me, but and the student running away, getting the student back, getting involving the parent. But I'm not going to delegate too much. I'm in charge, and I'm the one who makes the decisions. And I just, because it gets complicated. So anyway, a lot of feelings around that. But and and it is, the thing is, the students need to be escorted by the police, and then so they're handcuffed, before they get into the police car because of safety for themselves. And so it's, you know, it's really, it's hard for the students, and, you know, and luckily there were not too many people around. It was during the school hours, but, you know, seeing a teenager get into a police car with handcuffs, and, you know, and then nobody knows, you know, this is confidential, but it's a difficult process. But anyway, so that's that. Um, yeah, I think I'm open to have new people, you know, and just to, I feel that just to add more, you know, like maybe challenge, um, you know, challenge, and also maybe just, I don't know, just see where it goes, you know, having somebody new, and more than somebody with ideas and or thoughts. I guess I would like people, perhaps my desire is not only that they're exposed to focusing, but they are also exposed to group dynamics, and maybe they can bring both, and then maybe um, there's a element of risking to express feelings, you know what I mean? And um, so I think that would be, I think, what I would want. I mean, because I feel that, you know, focusing in regular group dynamics go hand in hand. I mean, I think that our group, it tends to gravitate to a lot of wanted to process, you know, and then so there's a lot there, but um, yeah, I mean, I understand I mean, I saw the sadness of many of you in their faces last time about including others, you know, but so so I'm open to it. But it's interesting. I'm saying this, but then I start feeling the sadness now. So so it's interesting, you know, because it changes things, right? I mean, we won't have our group, you know, anymore, but it will be something different, you know. I don't, anyway, just that.
I wrote down open and then I wrote down sadness.
I think BJ just put something in the chat, but I couldn't read it, so I missed some of it.
It's in the chat. So
What-
maybe you want to read it, Nancy, if you open the chat.
Let me see if I can find it again. Oh, I see.
Maybe you
Right.
could read it out loud, Nancy, so I could
Sure.
hear it.
She said, I find myself waiting for some integration and understanding about my health and need to just keep company with the silence as I am healing. I support new people in the group. More diversity would be nice, and that will require recruiting. I like Lynn's idea that we each recruit people of the type of person that we want more of. I will feel the loss of current intimacy we share. There will likely be positive surprises in learning that we don't imagine now.
Yeah.
So will likely be positive surprises
Yeah.
in learning that we
Thank
kind
you.
of.
Jay.
Hi, everyone. I can share.
Yes, please.
I'm feeling tired today. It was a busy day. I had an empathy circle on the inner critic this morning that my student led, and I can share the link in the chat. The recording's up if you want to check it out. It's kind of cool what's emerging. And I was working on my logo today, so there's lots of little things buzzing, and I'm tired. But part of that's also because I went to bed too late last night. I'm open to new people in the group. And yeah, feeling just curiosity about what will emerge, and also still in some ways, feeling like what we're learning is still implicit for me. I still feel like lots is just washing over me somehow. I don't know why that is, but that's where I'm at. Thanks for listening.
That's something for us to come back to. What we're learning is implicit, and there's a word in psychoanalysis that I like, procedural. It's like we're learning from the procedure of being together. But then how do we make that explicit so that we can use it in our contribution to community? So that's an important question.
Yeah. And I know from experience, like I learned so many things from Jan Winhall, right, when I trained with her. And then I teach it, and then people ask questions, and then I'm able to explain things. And it's like years later that you're like, oh, there's a nuance there. And I knew it. Like I would just listen a certain way, for example, and then I can say, oh, well, in this situation, this is better. And in this situation, this feels better. And then, yeah, so there's a sense of it can take a while to come out, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, crossing has to happen.
Are you saying that afterwards, I mean, you learn something, but it's all that comes afterwards opens it up and more is revealed? More makes
Well, that
time
I
goes
can
on?
that I can say it explicitly.
Yeah.
Like, so a concrete example is with listening. When people are kind of in neutral territory or a little bit positive, a little bit negative, I tend to mirror their intonation. So if someone says, "Oh, I was really annoyed," I would say back, "Yeah, you were really annoyed." Like I would add some of that energy, right? But if somebody is really joyful or really quite distraught, like at the other end, I don't do that. I don't mirror the emotion. I say, can you be with that?
Yeah.
Hold the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's a clear thing that I think I learned from her. I don't think she ever explained it, but I think that's what she did. And just over time, then that's how I listened. Because that's how we listened at Focusing on Boredom. So, and then Stephen Porges actually explains it. Like I read an article of his and he explains how when there's too much emotion, like the sympathetic nervous system gets activated. So the listener getting activated, then you as the focuser have to take care of the listener, and that doesn't help the process. And so that's why it backfires. So yeah, anyways.
And that was kind of instinctive. But
yeah,
now, I mean, the explicit part of it is risen.
yeah. To offer as some sort of guideline of maybe most of the time this might work.
Yeah.
It's not always.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if time is often necessary for something to become explicit. Genuinely. You need time to experience, maybe over and over. That's just a wonder.
Maybe it depends. Because like when we're focusing, we make things explicit all the time. But then I've also had the experience of coming back to felt senses over and over again, and it gets stuck at the image level. And it's like, oh, I'm not getting the right meaning. It's not becoming explicit enough. So it keeps coming back, keeps saying hello.
I think this is a good subject to come back to, because I think we all may be very different from each other about, some people need to digest things and then it becomes explicit. Other people may not need to make the learning explicit. Some people have it explicit first and then feel into the explicit learning and feel what it is to live it, you know, so we're all different in that way. But
Maybe-
yeah, I noticed last time when I was giving a kind of theoretical vision of what had happened in our meeting, and then asked you, you know, what you thought of it, that there was very little response because, and Isabel sort of shed light on this. It was like I was taking you out of the experience and you was still in the experience of what is this trans experience and how are we with it. So I learned something important about that, and maybe we can make that explicit sometime. But let's come back to Isabel, welcome. I told the group that you had something special to share with them, and we're just doing a check-in about how people are and how you feel about having new people in the group. Annette, don't go away. Come back.
I'm just eating my dinner. I'll be back.
No, you can eat your dinner with us. This is a dinner meeting.
I apologize, guys, for my late arrival, but MTA was doing its things today. And I'm just gonna stay muted. I need to rest my voice. I'm still not over a horrible cold. It's still, you know, so that's what I'm today.
We haven't heard from Jim. We haven't heard from Kate, and we haven't heard from Rachel. Is there anybody else we didn't hear from? We didn't hear from Isabel, but she's just coming. So I like to call on Jim. Jim, I know you have mixed feelings about it.
I have mixed feelings about everything today. Having a lot of trouble being here today. And for that reason, it makes no difference to me if we have thousands of new people or none. And I'm even wondering if I'm going to be here next year. That's kind of all I have to say. And I could say more things. When I arrived, no, I think I've said enough. Okay.
We'd love to hear more.
I'd love to be able to be with you in it being hard to be here. So you're not alone in it being hard to be here.
Well, the only thing I can say that'll shed any light on it is I saw this movie last night, which was made by a member of my family, and it was kind of about my family in some way. And I didn't feel like I belonged to my family, so I was already not belonging as of last night. And I felt a little bit bad about it, but I felt like that somehow I've been in my family this long and hadn't noticed until then. Anyway, so then I noticed, and then I noticed that I didn't want to come here today, and then I did, and I felt like I couldn't really be here. So that's what I have to say.
That lack of feeling of belonging just seems to permeate you from your family on out. It seems so painful.
Well, I don't know, it's uncomfortable, but I don't know that it's painful. It might be more painful to belong.
How interesting.
I'm
I
real,
get the,
go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say it, I get the feeling of it having a grip on you, almost like a stranglehold of
Yeah.
yelling at you somehow. You don't belong, you don't belong.
Well, no, I don't feel it that way. I feel it more like that I didn't even notice. And why didn't I notice? And what does that mean? And and also a feeling of accepting of it. Like I'm not fighting it. I'm not saying, well, you use the term claim your belonging. That would be a kind of fighting to claim a belonging. I'm not fighting. I'm accepting my not belonging today.
It's a sad acceptance.
No, it's I don't know. It doesn't feel sad to me, at least not today.
Do you want to belong?
I don't feel like it's up to me. That sometimes I show up here, and I always think of Isabel, wondering what it's going to be like when you show up. And sometimes I show up expecting to belong and then find that I don't. And today, I wasn't expecting very much, so it's some sense easier.
I'm glad you're talking because I feel I feel what? I feel less nervous. I feel you're being generous by sharing something of yourself with us. Since when you just sit there silently, sometimes I get mad at you. And I get afraid to keep asking. But I'm feeling much more related to you. And I'm wondering if that changes anything for you, the speaking, and then we can speak back.
I don't know. I think it changes a little bit. It doesn't change a whole lot. Also, it's a feeling of about the group. It's not about individuals. I can feel connected to individuals here, but somehow in the presence of a group, I feel less connected.
That really strikes me, that there's a different felt sense about individuals, even when they're all together, than there is about the family or the group or the neighborhood, or
Yeah,
the,
definitely it feels to me that I can, and I think that's why I like breakout rooms because they're small. I can deal with 1 or 2 people at a time, but the whole group is just feels oppressive to me,
Mm.
especially a group that's been around for a long time. I'm thinking if I was with a bunch of new people, I might feel, less oppressed. It's kind of it's like a culture develops, and the culture is what excludes me. It's not it's like I don't buy into it, and because I don't buy into it, I don't feel part of it.
I'm imagining you feeling, whether you would feel, or whether you do in some way feel a part of the not buying into it aspect of the group, that there's some way in which I think our force project is in not buying into. And there's that part of many of us. But that was just a thought that I had.
That way to me.
Hmm.
It feels to me like that there was a lot of buying into all sorts of stuff, and maybe not as individuals, but as a group. Another thing is, it's interesting. I came a little bit late today, and it made me feel more belonging because I always show up earlier on time, and other people don't. And I say, now I'm doing what everybody does.
Well, I'm wondering, Jim, what it feels like not to buy into the group, because you've been in the group for so long, and then you say, I don't buy into it. Is it you don't buy into the idea of the group, or the personalities, or the orientation, or the feeling of the group, or what?
I've been here a long time because I felt like something might happen if I was here a long time, but it wasn't happening. And I kept waiting for it to happen or trying to make it happen and failing at it. And now I'm more accepting of that. Now it's kind of like, oh, and maybe instead of thinking the way I am is wrong and that I have to change, maybe it's okay not to belong, and maybe it's okay to feel the way I feel. And that's a relief.
Well, I don't think of it the way you do in terms of not belonging. I think of it as belonging as much as I do, and that level changes from week to week. Some weeks I feel I belong more. Some weeks I feel like I don't belong at all.
So imagine one of those weeks. That's where I am today.
Well, that's okay. It's okay with me.
It feels like an internal thing for you. I think many of us want you to feel like you belong. I know I do. I believe that you belong in the group, but
Well,
you don't feel it.
that's the culture thing. I think a lot of people might all feel I should be a certain way. And I feel like I want to be that way for them, but then I feel like, but where am I in that? So there's a conflict.
I always, Jim, enjoy because you have very you see things very differently, and it has a lot of depth. So I always welcome your input. I mean, I just feel, I mean, like that you're hanging from a thread, and then I don't want to ask too much or say too much to you because I feel will push you away. And I sometimes part of me is like I mean, I grew up like I was from a family of outsiders, and then my mother would remind us, but I didn't think she thought it was a bad thing. And then I'm reminded often that I'm an outsider, and not because I'm from a different country or such, or that I don't fit in. But and then I said, oh, maybe that's my destiny, but maybe it's not so bad. As long as I can connect with people here and there and trying to find community, that I'm okay. So I don't know what the message is. I mean that maybe there's a message there that to be on the outside, to be able to see things that, differently, I guess, or I don't know, but just that's what I was thinking.
And Jim, I think I am feeling your presence is very important to me. I get the feeling that because you say you don't feel like belonging, but to me, I am relieved to see your face, and I'm waiting for you to speak up. So that I just want to say your presence is very important for me here.
I was struck by what you said, Roberto, about the way that I took what you said is that being on the margins rather than being central gives you a different perspective. And I've heard that said in the gay community, that being gay, especially earlier, like in the 70s and 80s and maybe even 90s, that that not belonging in the center of things, that it gives you a different perspective and different creativity. And I was sort of thinking that about you also, Jim, that maybe the not belonging means that you're coming at something in a freer way, or different way, or different perspective.
Well, those days when I feel like there's something wrong because I don't belong, then I'm less free. But this is not one of those days.
Yeah, this is a day of owning and accepting the being on the margin. Is being on the margin a right way to say it, or
I don't know.
I don't think your position is so unusual, Jim. For me, it's not unusual at all. But your perspective over your sense of it, perhaps is more makes it more explicit, and gives me, you could say almost more compassion with your situation. That is to always feel that you're not in a family, which you allude to is a very troubling position to be in.
It's only troubling if you start out being in the family and then feel otherwise. For me, it's familiar. A word that comes from the same root as family.
Yeah.
Isn't it a kind of comfort sometimes, in a weird way, sort of an identity, a very familiar, ground? I mean, when I think of my not belonging, it's so familiar. It is a sort of identity, whether I want it or not, but it's real familiar. I wondered if it's that for you.
A little bit, I guess. I'm very suspicious of identities in general, and feel like they confine me, and actually confine everybody. But other people feel hugged by the confinement instead of trapped.
Kate, I'm wondering if you have something to say, or energy sort of feels like that you do.
If you were to check in.
I don't know. I'm feeling a little nervous about this subject,
Ah,
belonging or not belonging.
what makes you nervous?
I'm trying to understand. It's like is it so important? I kind of I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel belong, but I'm wondering, is that what other people feel? Is that belonging or not belonging? I'm not quite sure.
If when you feel belonging, you don't know if that's what other people feel. When
Are we talking about the same thing or different things?
Well, Kate, when you had said that a few groups back that you started out not belonging, but then you felt like you belong, and whether it's good or it's bad, it's your community, and you claim your belonging. What did belonging mean to you when you said that?
It means I keep showing up. As long as I show up, I belong. I don't think I need other things to confirm my belonging. It's kind of a choice. If I choose to belong or I don't choose to belong. And I don't think anybody can feel belong all the time. I think somehow we share similar feelings of belonging or not belonging.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm so nervous talking about this. Maybe because I don't
nervous.
have.
I'm nervous
Sorry.
thinking about it. Just thinking about it makes me nervous.
Hmm.
But because I guess I see myself as a lonely person. And if you're such a person, then belonging it seems more difficult because it's not natural.
Mm.
And I think with my family here, to personalize it, sometimes I don't hear from, they're only a mile away. Sometimes I don't hear from them. Could be a couple of weeks. If I don't call them, they don't call me. Then I don't belong. It's like I'm not there. I don't exist.
That hurts.
From what you were saying, Kate, it feels like belonging, it just makes me think about it more. I didn't really think about it as thoroughly. That we need to make a decision to belong, and others need to be welcoming us into the group to belong. It's kind of a two-way street, isn't it? It feels like we've welcomed one another into our group, and we're here. So it seems like we've chosen to belong, if that's the definition of belonging. I don't know.
You know what? I was just thinking that it's important for me to belong to myself. And I often don't. I often feel I don't, like I kind of throw myself away. And somehow that's connected with, then I don't belong anyplace. If I don't feel I'm sort of with myself. We kind of go together a little bit.
I think I have that sense too, Susan, that if I belong to myself, that belonging, that self goes way out and includes
Mhm.
the world, the community, the other. But if I lose myself, I don't feel I belong.
Yeah.
I feel obligated to the other or needed by the other, but not really
Really
belong.
wanting to, and yeah.
I just wanted to throw out something that Kate said reminded me of Jean having these changes meetings when he was at the University of Chicago when he was a young guy, and there were people being drafted into the Vietnam War, and he decided to to teach focusing as a way of contributing something to that crisis. And people would wander in from different parts of the university and not know what they were coming into. And Gene would sit on the desk at the front of the room, and he would say, "If you're here, you belong here," and with great authority. And that sort of struck me. If you're here, you belong here.
You know, doesn't it, it kind of takes courage to belong, or that's the part of claiming belonging, that is sort of say, I connect in some way with these people. I think that takes courage. I don't always connect with them, that's for sure, but maybe right now. Jim, I must say, I feel sometimes you have really connected with people here, people in, need, and I mean, very strongly. And naturally.
Well, it's different with individuals. It's a feeling about the group as a whole.
I'm
What
aware
is-
that
What? Yeah.
Am I interrupting you, Susan? I'm sorry. I'm aware that several people haven't gotten check in yet, Rachel and Isabel. But I wanted to say that this discussion is very helpful to me, because I feel like I have a foot in the psychoanalytic world and a foot in the focusing world. And I've never really felt like I belong in the psychoanalytic world. I always feel very marginal there. And I haven't had much to do with that community since COVID and since my partner got sick. And I'll be presenting a workshop for the conference in Rome in October. So it's like coming back to a community that I don't feel like really welcomes me. And some part of me belongs, but listening to some of the things that have been said, I feel like, if I'm there, I belong. There are parts of me that don't belong, but there are parts of me that belong.
Well, maybe you belong when you're there. And when you're not there, then you belong to something else or some other community.
No, I feel when I'm there that I don't belong. There's, I mean, that would take too much explanation, but it's very formal environment, and the culture of it is a culture that I don't feel that I belong in many ways, but some way I do.
I have a question for you, Lynn. I put in the chat Brene Brown's distinction between fitting in and belonging, and she says fitting in is about assessing a situation and becoming who you need to be accepted. And so the question is, do you find yourself changing yourself a bit when you go to the psychoanalytic to fit in? Like maybe, I think sometimes, stupid things keep coming.
I love
I feel like sometimes we're
it.
using the word belonging to mean two things, maybe. I don't know if that distinction is helpful. Like that you
No,
feel?
I think that's very helpful. Um, I would say I don't change myself to fit in because uh, I'll just take a minute. I don't want to take the group's time with this, but this will occur in a big impersonal hotel with lots of people dressed in a kind of formal ways, greeting each other in formal ways that have read each other's work or haven't, or been on panels together. And intellectually, I connect with many of a lot of the theoretical work that's being done. Socially, or as a person, I sort of feel like, what am I doing here? You know, I have to find something to say to this person. You know, what am I going to say to them? And my vision problem doesn't help that either, because I won't recognize people from across the room or be able to see them well enough to know that they were in a workshop I did or something. Anyway, that's all just explanation, but I did want you to have a vision of this formal hotel with these formal people and my wandering around with a glass of wine thinking, what am I going to say to how long do I have to stay here before I can? I don't feel that in the workshop that I do. I won't feel that at all because the connecting with people.
So something about the culture there that you can't connect with them in the wine fancy cocktail situation.
I'm wondering if it is it time for us to ask.
And Lynn, I was actually gonna share something.
Great.
First, I want to say, Jim, I know I always look forward to seeing you here all the time. There's never a time when your presence here doesn't bring me joy. I think I have said this, you have ways of saying things that I personally enjoy. And the other thing I was going to say is that as the conversation turned toward belonging and not, or maybe not fitting in, one of the things that I was present to was when I first started in this community, the focusing community. And that was back on and around 2009. And I remember that I used to come to the changes meeting on the church next to NYU. But this was a very long time ago. And there wasn't a day that at first I needed a partner to go. And I was always going with this other person. And I never went by myself because I couldn't find the courage to walk into that room alone. And then I'm sharing that to say there's something in this community that has helped me and continue to sustain me because I continue to show up. So I want to acknowledge that. And then the last thing I want to say is I think that, Arvin, to your point, and I think Annette, you say a little bit when you asked the question of Lynn, I both belong in some places and not belong in others. And so the duality of that existence, for me, it's always present, right? Because I don't belong everywhere, but I belong in some places fully, in other maybe a little bit, and in others not at all, right? And I think that that's one of the things that I find that this group has done for me. It's to let me see, sort of like take I don't know, a bird's eye view or a out of body kind of like, and notice that and be with that. And so I just want to appreciate this group because it has given me that sort of like the practicing space to continue to practice belonging. And I am very sorry, but I have had a cold for like what it seems now it's eternally. And whenever I think it's going away, it just seems to come back with a vengeance. And today is one of those days where I thought I was feeling better this morning, and now it has taken a dive to feeling just bad. And just like the whole stuff going on. So I'm just gonna go back to kind of like being quiet so you don't have to be concerned about my coffee.
I I wonder, Isabel, after Rachel speaks, I think she's the only one who hasn't yet, if you would share your video of your project. It was such a beautiful experience, and you don't have to talk, you could just show the video.
And Isabel, what about your thoughts about having, newcomers next year?
So I'm very much mixed about this. I think that any kind of group where you have new people come in, there's a natural disruption that happens because there's a repositioning of group members. And yeah, there's a part of me that feels like being generous about sharing this space because of what I have gained. And I'm gaining every day. So I'm really mixed about it. I think for me it's not just inviting people, but within what context are we inviting them in? That's where I'm, and I would definitely go with whatever is decided.
So maybe that needs to be discussed, the context, and that might be a different discussion. Rachel, we haven't heard from you.
Yeah, I guess I would also say I'm having difficulty being here. I'm grateful that the group is here and that it feels like it's a support to know that it's here at 6 o'clock in the evening and it kind of holds me together in a certain way. It's like very important structure. I'm feeling that I'm like not quite engaged or participatory, and I'm feeling a little impatient, which I don't like to use that word because I feel like it's sort of mean, and it's not impatient with anyone. It's just like a kind of sense of like agitation or something, or not being able to like drop in sort of. And I also, I've been kind of going through some stuff that it sort of, if it's not belonging, it certainly dovetails with that. And I would just, I think I'm feeling, yeah, like, so emotionally and psychically, I'm feeling so crushed, like a crushed grape that's getting turned into wine. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I have an image and I feel like crushed in that way, not crushed in the slang way of like the 70s. Like my cousin would be like, oh, I love that girl. She's a crush. I'm crushed. Not like that, but like crushed, like physically and in every way, like how a grape is crushed when it's just being turned into something else, like how it's just busted open, and like that, I'm kind of feeling in that state. And so I think it's starting to go into my physical where I'm just feeling like, am I getting sick? And I feel exhausted and run down. And that's my check-in for today. But I think it's kind of a culmination of an accumulation of stuff from the week with the holiday, the Passover holiday, with just all kinds of other things that feel like too much to bear and too much to bear alone. So there's that. And then in terms of new people, I'm not sure if I'm missing like the gravity of it, but I feel like new people are fine, more people are fine as long as they're like us. And if I don't like them, I'm not going to like the new people. So, and then I won't want new people. So, I don't feel like when people are like, oh, we want more young people or this or that. I don't know how young we want the people, but I don't feel like I have patience for very young, immature, irritating people. No, I don't. So, I mean, maybe no one under 30. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, but I don't know. So I don't, oddly, as a sort of grumpy and disgruntled as I'm feeling, I don't have strong feeling about new people. I think that's okay. And I like the idea of us sort of understanding what they're being invited into and what is expected of them, like right off the bat, or if they get some kind of orientation in the beginning, or I think that's important and instructive to think through. I like that aspect. That's all.
I was sort of getting a kick out of the like us. They have to be like us.
Mhm.
Isn't that human nature? You know, that we come back to that we've made this us, and now these people have to be like us.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, I said that with full awareness, and I mean it with full awareness of how problematic it is, but that's just what's true at this moment.
Yes. Hey, Isabel, I didn't get whether you would share your video or not. I just didn't understand.
I don't think I answer. And if it's okay with you, it just doesn't feel I'm too emotionally taxed today.
Uh-huh. Yes. It's fine. I just wanted to know.
You know, I'm just thinking about new people and think we have to get used to them as much as they have to get used to us, or blend in some way, make some effort to accommodate each other. And it's an effort sometimes. And the not knowing the person, just the not knowing the person. Sometimes it's kind of interesting and exciting, but it can also feel like, oh boy, it's, superficial compared with what you have with someone you have shared a lot with.
Yeah.
So there's, a sense of loss in giving up the treasured, the treasured family. With bad things about it, but it's known. You think it's known anyhow.
It just occurs to me, I don't think Yoga checked in. Did you, Yoga?
At the beginning.
At the beginning, oh.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a little short. compared
There
to
more.
what some other people have been saying.
Do you have more to
Mm,
let's come?
well, yeah. Mm, yeah, I just had the association of like, um, like suddenly having a new family member, and it kind of feel really like very strange and unwanted emotionally. But then there's also something like, well, once that person is part of the family, you know, it's part of the family, and it's like um, every person. I mean, most persons have something that you then, as you get to know the person, um, you will find really interesting and valuable and lovable. So yeah, there's that. And then something what struck me, kind of people checking in about, I like the idea also about like, oh, what kind of context rather than we want this or that kind of person, and or we would like this or that kind of person, because that really also kind of struck me a bit like a person with certain, I'm not exactly repeating, but maybe a person certain age with certain capabilities and maybe being engaged and kind of having experience with a group, or and it just that struck me in a certain way, like almost like, well, I guess I make that out of that, but almost like having requirements with with the new person, for the new person, and then I automatically wonder about my own my own capabilities and what I bring in the group, and like if you're gonna have requirements about new people in the group, like what about requirements of people who are already in the group or something? So that's, personally, I feel less safe if we talk like that. So, actually, very much. So yeah. Hmm.
Very much. You feel that.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
just
Talking
say,
about belonging. That's. I have something to say here too. Yeah. Hmm.
as you made that request, Joka, that we should have guidelines for the people who are already here, my brain immediately went to, oh my God, they would just kick me out, you know?
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
And that's the antithesis of belonging, the fear of being kicked out.
Yeah.
But we don't do that.
Yeah.
When I forget who was speaking when I had this image of when Susan was speaking, I had this image of us all writing a description of the people we want, like you would in an app when you were dating. And we would write what kind of people we want and what they would be like and how old they were and all of that. And it would be very interesting. I would love to hear what everybody would write if you could have your dream person join the group. But then when you said that, Yoka, about how you wouldn't belong, you would be kicked out of your, and Isabel said that. And then I remembered this thing that Jean would say often, that you don't love somebody because of their attributes. They're such a good listener, they're whatever. You love someone and then you notice these attributes. And I was thinking that maybe the same thing with new people, that it wouldn't be the people that we would categorize that we wanted, but who the people are as we get to know them and experience them and live with them, then we would appreciate what they're offering to us or something.
What's brought us together is when we've been able to be vulnerable with one another. And not had to put up that big, I don't know, meeting all these expectations and things. I don't like that concept at all. And it feels like what has brought us together and made it safer is when each person has become vulnerable in one way or another, and we've accepted one another.
I treasure having gone through things with people here. I guess it's sort of what you're saying, Nancy. But, you know, like there've been hard times for me anyway, where I felt not heard, or I felt like hurt people and was a bad person. And to go through that with other people, to be able to put it into words, to feel heard. Somehow it just feels like I wish we could be in the same room right now. I think I'm having trouble connecting. Suddenly my words felt a little, just like words. I lost the connection.
Then I'm wondering, I feel you're forcing this idea of adding more people upon us. That is, we have 14, 15 people here, and adding 3 more, it's a delusion. It just dilutes the group from the more intense feelings that we're expressing to something else. So I just wonder what your idea is.
Are you asking me, Marvin?
Yeah.
Well, my idea is that that adding new people will grow us and stretch us, and that it will allow us to enter the world more. But that may not be everybody's desire. I mean, I started this project as a way of trying to bring focusing into the social political arena, and then I discovered the power of groupness, which all the social everything is community and group in a sense, you know. So it feels like a way of all of us contributing whatever we contribute in a better way, because we're studying this leadership. We're coming out in a sense. And I was noticing, Mary, how you've come out so much more recently, and it makes my heart sing. It's like, oh, there's Mary.
Thank you.
But I think that's been true for all of us in different ways. And there's, for me, it feels like there's another step, that we've done this leadership group for 2 years, and that there's a further step. But you give birth to a group, and it wasn't just me. Yoka and Susan and Isabel and other people here too gave birth to this group, not just me. But at any rate, then the group is what it is. So you may say, Marvin, I don't want to make an impact on the world, you know. I'm happy to be less lonely here.
Yes. Exactly.
I'm going to share my playlist, which has the 3 empathy circles I've done. And I'd love if some of you watch some of them or bits of them to know what you think. But the thought I had, Susan, when you were speaking about we've been able to be vulnerable. And it's interesting that what this group has been able to do is be in conflict and then be vulnerable. Which is probably harder because people come to the empathy circle and they're quite vulnerable, which you'll see if you some of them. And there's like the container allows them, but maybe in some ways it's anonymity, but in other ways, some of these people come over and over again. They come to the changes group. Some of them know each other. Yeah, so there's kind of a curiosity of being able to go to both ends, I guess, like the conflict and the vulnerability of sharing about that. It's kind of a question for me.
You're saying that the empathy circles, people are able to be very vulnerable, and you want to share that with us, and that's your contribution in the world, and I'm very eager to watch it.
Yeah.
And you're wondering about, in those circles, it isn't so much going through something together, conflict, and then being vulnerable about that. It's more that the structure is making it safe for people to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and it makes me think of, I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of doing like the murmuration where the flocks of birds are just moving in this so beautiful way. And there's like 3 little rules that the birds are following that causes that beautiful emergence. So I think there's something to that, of like that the structure can allow something to pop out.
Yes.
Maybe that's why I'm always obsessed with like going, what are we learning? Because I want to be like, how can I say it to others so that they can do it too? Something.
Yes. And that's been a theme that we've worked with for a long time, about structure, not structure. And for me, the structures are very important for many things, but the spontaneity and the minimal structure, we have structure, but minimal structure leaves room for people to be themselves in their in more of their fullness, rather than bring a certain part of themselves that will fit into the structure. Jim, do we have Greg's video about embodied democracy on the resources for? We do for the class, I think, but do we for our group?
I would have to look. I don't
We'll
know.
have to look, but I'd love all of you to watch Greg's embodied democracy and see what you think about it.
I think we have it as a PDF. I don't know if we have it as a video. Oh, he did one for Help
Yeah.
for Builders. Is that the one you mean?
No, I mean the one for that he originally did for Tiffy, but then did it himself.
Well,
Yeah.
is
So
it-
I recently put it up on the FOT channel, so it's there.
Great. Well, if everybody will, Yoga, if you'll send everybody the link.
I can
so-
send a link. Yeah. Mhm.
Hello, it's BJ. Can you hear me?
Hey,
Uh,
yeah.
Hi, Vijay.
Before we go, I want to just resonate really with Rachel particularly, but to some degree with everybody tonight. Roberto and Masumi, the issues that are so painful of being in a position to have a responsibility for something. And to me, you guys sharing that is just so splendid. And that to get to see your struggle and to imagine just the parts of that, what that must be like, to say that many, many, many times you've had to put a young person in handcuffs and put them in a police car. And Masumi, your frustration and your, at the same time, your commitment to this project and your willingness to just keep giving yourself to it. So, you know, those two things for me tonight are a little bit like Studs Terkel's book on working. It's just a little vignette of hundreds of different people talking about what it's like to be in their work. And I could say something to everybody, but Rachel particularly, when we speak about vulnerability, I think what Rachel did tonight is the best example of vulnerability, because it calls to the humanness in all of us, like Roberto and Masumi, but everybody, to be able to say, first, I'm not really present. I can't get here, but I'm here. And wow. And then just to think in a marriage or something like that, how beautiful that is to be able to say that to one's spouse and to just let it be heard and to not be on the attack or not think there's some vast problem in the world, but it's just the beauty of that and the pain of it, to say I feel smushed like a grape. That's just, oh my God. And to think that particularly now I think about it, having to just face what life brings. And then with our structures as they are right now in our cultures, if you aren't partnered, it's like all your memories of everything just pour out on the ground because somebody isn't there holding them with you. So it's just such a profound kind of agony. And that's the kind of thing this group does for each other. That's what we do. And I think Isabel says it so often. I learn about me every time. And that's me. That's why I'm here. It is such a rare opportunity to be invited into a space with other people and to just observe myself with them. My impatience and what can I get from that? It's just, and to have a people who that yoga, you've just become so comfortable saying to me, when you have this tone of voice, it really bothers me. And what a gift that is for me to just keep hearing that and keep hearing that and working with that. So I could say a whole lot more, but I'm out of stuff. So thank y'all so much. It was really a joy to be here. Although I too had a hard time dropping in. And that's part of what I'll reflect on this week is what was going on with me that I had a hard time dropping in. And finally, just to say, I have a real commitment to following Lynn's intuition about this group because so many good things are coming from it for other people. With the way she talks about us, it's an honor for us to be here and to be a part of that vision that she has, and for her to be able to grasp things and give them forward. And maybe we can too sometime, but I remember Rosa said it so well last year. Oh, not no, but goddamn no. We do not need more people. We're just tasting each other finally for the first time. Don't give me more people. And I feel that. And at the same time, I am really committed. I am really committed to opening the door and accepting whoever comes. So thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, BJ. It's so good to hear your voice.
BJ.
You're sounding strong and and
Yeah,
Very,
well
you.
said, BJ. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
very
Thank you.
wonderful words to
Mm.
take away from you, BJ.
Mhm.
Thank you. It's a gift.
okay, I'll see everybody in 2 weeks.